Hi everyone. By now, I'm sure all of you are aware that MBA CET is going to be conducted twice this year. So when it comes to the year 2026 and later on as well, it will happen twice a year. This time it is going to happen in the month of April and then in the month of May. However, they have indicated that 2027 onwards, they will try and space it out in such a way that students get a lot of time to prepare for either of the attempts, and the gap would be roughly about 6 months between the two attempts. But we have sufficient time for that. Today we'll talk about the 2026 attempt and how you need to plan your attempt. First of all, what are the implications of these two attempts that are going to happen and what should be your strategy. Let's get started. So first things first, now on this page you will see all the things that we are going to discuss. So this is the only slide that I have created. Let's first talk about the dates. Now, the first attempt is going to happen from 6th April to 8th April, right? So typically, if you look at the CET calendar, generally March or April, that has been typically the time when CET used to get conducted in the past as well. And that is what they have continued. So it is going to happen in April. The second attempt of CET is going to happen on the 9th May, and all of these dates are taken from the official document which is given on the CET cell website. They have mentioned that these are tentative dates, these are not final dates, and this can change as we progress. Regarding the registration process, no details have been mentioned at this point of time, so this is something that will be announced at a later point of time. So these dates can change, but what you need to do is you need to prepare in such a way that you are going to take the test on 6th April, right? So let's keep that as the final date, and then we're going to back calculate and then approach the entire preparation. So interestingly, they have given 3 dates for the first attempt, and typically that has happened in the past as well, where they would conduct the test over 3 days and there used to be 2 slots every single day, so 6 slots in total. For the second attempt, they have mentioned only one particular date, right? So it's a bit surprising because if you go by the history of CET, you would realize that the number of takers is more than 1 lakh. So clearly, if a lot of people also opt for the second attempt, it's going to be very difficult for them to conduct it on a single day. So mostly they will have to have multiple days for the second attempt as well, is what I feel at this point of time. Now, the first question that you may have, right, is why is this being done? Correct. Now, the first reason that the government has given as to why they are doing this is to give students more opportunity. So now you get one more opportunity to perform, and the entire pressure which happens on one single attempt gets distributed, right? So now you have 2 attempts, and if at all for whatever reasons first attempt you are not able to do well, you can always better your performance in the second attempt. The second question is, do you need to appear for both the attempts? Now this is of course a decision that you will have to take, but I would suggest that you appear for both the attempts. Now the reason for that is very simple. You don't know which paper you are going to do very well in. So whether you will do well on the first attempt or the second attempt. And if you look at the tweet, so this is a post that happened on X. This is from Chandrakant Patil. And he had mentioned that, so there is one thing that is written here. It's in Marathi, so some of you don't understand it, but I'll just explain what is written here. They have written that the first test will happen in April, and I think they made a mistake. So instead of 26, they have written 25. So first in April and second in May, right? So that is again evident as you can see from the dates. But what is written here is that the first test is Bandhan Karak, which is basically mandatory. So you are supposed to take the first test, which is mandatory, and the second is Aichik, which is basically optional. So if you take both of them, then the best score will be considered. That is what is written in this post. On various websites and newspaper, if you see, the story is little different. So what exactly is the story? Nobody knows at this point of time. So are they saying that you can take either of the attempts, or are they saying that the first attempt is mandatory, so you have to definitely take that attempt, and the second is an optional attempt, right? So there is a bit of a confusion there. But as I said, right, it's better that you go for both the attempts. That's the simplest thing that you can do. Of course, it means also that you will have to prepare for one additional month, you'll have to take more mock tests and so on. But at least you will have a chance to better your performance. So go for the second attempt as well. That is going to be the recommendation. Whether the first is mandatory or not doesn't matter. You appear for both the attempts. That is going to be my personal recommendation to you. The other thing with CET, if you again have looked at the CET history, every single year they have made some or the other errors in the paper. In fact, last year over 6 slots combined, there were close to 50 errors which were there in the paper. So the conduct of the CET is not done in the best possible manner, and that is why there is always a chance that you might not end up performing to your potential in your own slot. And that is why if you get a shot at it again, you have the chance to perform better, right? And that is why it's always better that you go for both the attempts. It's not mandatory to take both the attempts. So somebody can say, okay, maybe I'm going to appear for only one or only two if this thing that is written here is not going to be true, and they say that okay, you can take either of the attempts. It's up to you which one you want to take, but the recommendation is going to be you take both of them to improve your chances. Exactly, are they going to charge the same amount of fees for the second attempt? When the registration process is going to happen? All of that, we don't have any clarity at this point of time. But of course, once we know, we will also let you know. Now, which score will be considered? As it is mentioned, they will consider the best score. And when they say best score, it is essentially the best percentile that you get. So even for the first attempt, they will calculate a percentile. For the second attempt, they will calculate a percentile. And they will take the best percentile that you get. Now, this has an implication on the cutoffs, but because it depends on the number of takers, first of all, it is going to have an impact on the relative standing, and that in turn itself will impact the percentile that you get. Think of it this way, right? And it's very simple to understand. In the earlier year, you had 6 slots, correct? So every slot, there is going to be a topper. So all those toppers would have 100 percentile. The moment you create an additional window and there are more people again taking the test in that particular thing, you're going to have another topper from that particular attempt. So now instead of 600 percentilers, you're going to have 700 percentilers. So that additional window is as good as saying that instead of 6 windows now, you're going to have more windows. If on this particular day, which is 9th May, instead of having, let's say, 2 slots, they end up doing 2 additional days, and then they have, let's say, 6 slots, you're going to have so many 100 percentilers that will get produced. So that is going to have an impact on the cutoff. But if you think of it, you have to just focus on your preparation and give the best that you can in both the attempts. That's the only thing that you control. You don't have any control on how many people will end up taking the test in attempt 1, how many will appear for attempt 2, what is going to be the overlap between these people, and you don't know exactly how many slots will also be there. So instead of worrying about the impact of this on the cutoff, which is definitely going to be there, you focus on the preparation that you're going to do. So the next question is, what should be my preparation strategy? Now the prep strategy does not change just because they've added an attempt, right? The only thing that happens, of course, now is because there is going to be a second attempt. If you're planning to take that, and which is what I recommend you should, you have to plan your mocks accordingly. So if you're planning to take both the attempts, I would say for the first attempt, so for IMS students, I can speak for IMS students. Of course, if you're a non-IMS student, you can also consider looking at the test series that we offer. There are 20 mocks that we offer, right? Now, what you can do is you can plan the 15 mocks before the first attempt and the remaining 5 mocks for your second attempt, because you're going to have 1 month between these two, right? So before the first attempt, 15 mocks is going to be enough. You will have enough exposure. You take the test, you see how you performed. Then you have another attempt for which you keep 5 mocks that you can keep, right? So that is what you should do. 15 mocks before the first attempt, 5 mocks between the first and the second attempt. So that is going to be the mock strategy. Prep wise, you have to complete your preparation for the first attempt. You can't say that, oh, I'm going to do some 80% of my syllabus for the first attempt and then I'll work on the remaining 20% between the first and the second attempt. That's not going to help you. So you have to take your first attempt as if that is the attempt, right? So you should not be thinking of the second attempt while you're taking the first attempt. So make sure that you complete your entire syllabus and you have sufficient time to do that. So it's not that we are in a time crunch situation. We are recording this video at the end of November. We have December, Jan, Feb, March, right? So you have enough time before you get to CET. Make sure that you prepare well. Finally, what are the next steps? So when you look at the admission process of CET, alongside CET, there are other tests that are also accepted by the institutes that accept the CET score. So whether it is CMAT, MAT, ATMA, etc. So make sure that you also take some of these additional tests, because you should not depend on CET. And this is something that I have mentioned multiple times in the past as well, that CET is not something on which you can exclusively depend. You should take multiple tests. Definitely take MAT and ATMA so that it creates more opportunities for you. If you're already registered for CMAT, great. But if you haven't, you're not planning to take the CMAT, at least I would suggest that you take MAT and ATMA to improve your chances of getting in. Because when you look at the CET accepting institutes, 15% of the seats are reserved for all India candidates, and they accept any of the tests that you have, whether it is CET, CAT, CMAT, MAT, ATMA, etc. So they are not going to do any distinction between your CET 99.99 versus a MAT 99.99. And considering MAT has fewer candidates taking the test, it is obviously much easier to get to a higher percentile. So that is why you should also take MAT and ATMA. So that is going to be one of the things that you should be doing as part of next steps. And whichever ATMA, MAT that are going to happen next, as long as they happen before the CET cap rounds begin, which will typically be in the month of June, whatever MAT ATMA gets conducted prior to that will mostly also get accepted. Though there is no official communication, but it has always happened that they release that communication very, very late. But they have always accepted MAT and ATMA as well. So there is no doubt that they will accept it this year. So take MAT ATMA in addition to, and of course CMAT in addition to CET. Now a common question that a lot of students have is, if I am not from Maharashtra, am I eligible for CET? The answer is yes. So no, anybody, right, whether you are from Maharashtra or you are not from Maharashtra, you are eligible to take the CET. You can take the CET, but there are restrictions in terms of the number of seats that you are competing for. So somebody who is from Maharashtra will typically compete for the 85% of the seats that are reserved for the state candidates. If you're not from Maharashtra, you're basically competing for the 15% of the seats which are all India, which also includes the Maharashtra state. So that is why you are still eligible. So don't think you're not eligible if you're not from Maharashtra. Okay, you are eligible whether you're from Maharashtra or not to take the CET. So next steps, keep preparing for the test. The 2 attempts does not change a lot of things dramatically. It's just that it is giving you one additional opportunity to perform. Of course, it is going to come with a little bit of cost and time investment from you, considering you'll have to prepare for one additional month. But that's okay, right? I mean, of course, you're trying to get into some of the best institutes in the country. You would have to bear with the pain that you're going to go through. So it's okay. So keep preparing. Make sure that you plan your mocks very well. And if you haven't started your prep, do it right away. Okay, so I wish all of you all the best. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you very soon once we have any further updates from the CET cell. All the best till then.